Hi everyone, Adrian here. Welcome back to Wild Bush and Grit. Today we're making deer jerky. Deer jerky using deer or venison jerky if you like. But yet still deer jerky. Let's have a look at what's on the table. So I have a piece of sirloin here from my last hunt, and I'm going to use a dehydrator for the drying process. You can also use the oven. So, stick around. If you don't have a dehydrator, you don't need to run away. I'll tell you how to do that with your oven. But for simplicity purpose, I think the dehydrator works really well. So, and overall, keep in mind, jerky are one of the easiest things to do. You could be doing this at camp, over your campfire. That would work. There's no... You do not need to be a rocket scientist to make deer jerky, and I'll show that in a second. So when you get your meat, the first thing you want to do is remove all the trims of fat left on it. So I'll just go around here, removing the fat, because when the fat dries out, it kind of have like a rancid taste. See here, we have a good amount of fat. Let's take this out. And you don't have deer, it's okay, you can use beef. Also, it works really well. So whatever the cut of meat you use, make sure you're using a lean cut, so your trimming process is easy and you do not have marbling into the meat. Now for cutting, you need to make sure that your pieces are of even thickness, so it dries out roughly in the same amount of time, because you do not want thicker, thin, because the ones that are too thick will not dry out in the same range of time as the other pieces. So you want all your pieces to have roughly the same size. In terms of direction, if you cut along the grain or across the grain, that is entirely up to you. Cutting along the grain will have pieces that are harder to chew because you're following the grain. So like the strength of the meat is in the grain direction. If you're cutting across the grain, you have something that is a bit more brittle, a bit more, chewable. So there are no right or wrong way. And I think for this piece, I'll do it across the grain, like so. So I'll try to be consistent. Jerky make great food for camp. You do not need a cooler to keep them fresh. And voila, so we're done with the slicing. So this is the thickness that I'm going for, and you can see the meat is very lean. There is very little fat marbling into the meat. So now we're on to the marinade. And for the marinade, I like to keep it very easy. Lots of people like to, in my opinion, overdo it. Like they have a lot, and then after they have to wipe out the meat. And no, so you can say my approach is more of a dry marinade rather than a very liquid marinade that you'll need to wipe out. So I try to have it concentrated and not runny. And so here we go. So I'll use half spoon here of paprika, and I'll add one tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. And yes, I did say Worcestershire. It's not Worcestershire like 99% of people try to, are usually saying Worcestershire. So I know English is my second language, right? So it's not always tip top, but Worcestershire, I'm pretty confident on that one. So 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire. I like to add a wee bit of liquid smoke, and this is just a quick dash, not too much. This is okay. Then about 3/4 spoon of salt. You can go for 1 tablespoon of salt, and pepper. Plenty of pepper. You can add chili, you can add garlic powder, onion powder. That is Okay, this is good. So right now, you need to have a look at how it looks because it's not runny at all. I can try to catch a bit of light. So you see how, you know, this sort of paste that it's currently doing. Okay, so now you see it's kind of, you know, almost like a pasty. And now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna kind of dilute it with some soy sauce. Okay, and I will try to have something more. And yes, so this is a type of consistency that I'm looking out for. All right, in the plate here, I'll put, you know, I can, you know, start with just dropping a little bit of a marinade at the bottom, and I will just drop a piece of meat in it. I'll drop some more. So now what you can see is, you know, there's nothing runny. It's like, you know, we do have spice on all the piece of meat, but it's very, very light. I don't know if the camera could pick that up, but we have a very light coat of marinade on the meat, and that's what I'm looking for. I think, you know, all my pieces are well coated. One another. That's nice. So for now, we will let the marinade settles in, you know, and I'll probably leave it for about overnight. And tomorrow we will continue. We'll start the drying process tomorrow. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so next morning, the meat has marinated overnight. And now we're ready to send it to the dehydrator. Okay, and as I was saying, also, you know, if you don't have a dehydrator, it's okay. You can still do that in your oven. And the only thing you need to do is you need to turn on your oven around 150, 160. And the process is the same. You put your meat onto a grid. Make sure, you know, make sure the pieces are not overlapping. And you can start with checking them every hour, you know, every hour maybe you have a look. And this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to turn this on, and then I will I'll regularly check it. Usually for this type of piece, I think about, in the dehydrator, about 3-4 hours should be sufficient. But we'll see, you know, sometimes ambient temperature and all that has, of course, different effect. So when you do it in your oven, you know, make sure you're checking your oven often so you're not overdoing it. You don't want the meat to become so dry that's all, like, you know, almost turn to dust as you bite in it. So you still want a little bit of a, you know, leathery type of texture. And yeah, and voila. So this is done. I'll put the cover back. I'll turn the machine on, and all right. So to set the temperature, so here, I mean, I can increment in Fahrenheit, you know, 5 degrees Fahrenheit, and the maximum I can go is 160. Okay, so I'll usually set it to 155. And for your oven, I recommend you this, you know, in the same range of temperature, around 50, 160, depending on how precise is your oven. You know, if you know your oven is on the hotter side of things, then, you know, maybe you want to cool it off a little. You don't want too much heat because it's going to cook the meat. This is not what we're after. We are not trying to cook the meat. We just want the meat to dry slowly. Okay, very important. If I know I'm gonna make, you know, camp food and I'll be out for weeks, then I will have it super dry, and I will rehydrate it, you know, when I'm eating at camp, cooking, adding to some of my soup or something else. But if it's deer jerky that I just want to enjoy and chew, you know, and share with friends, then I'll make it like nice and soft and chewy. Okay. The drier it's going to be, the more shelf life it's going to have. Okay, so I'll start the machine again and I'll show you how it looks in a couple of hours. See ya! Alright, so it's been an hour and you see, you know, it's still pretty thick. But it has darkened, so the color is starting to look like jerky, but you know, the middle is clearly not done yet, so I'm gonna send it back for another hour. Alright, so we're about an hour later and we're getting drier and drier. Still, you know, we're getting into the realm of what I would like, but we have a little bit more, you know, moisture that I would like to get out. So my estimation here is another hour maybe. So I'll leave it another hour and we should be done. So here's the final product. This is where I will stop the drying process. So the drying time total was about 3 hours, and you know, when I'm looking at inside, it's not too brittle, but it's no longer wet. You know what I mean? It has those nice fiber. So good. And if I were to bring this to camp, this is going to be over before midnight. But if I were to bring this to camp, what I would do is I would make it even drier. And, you know, like it would almost kind of break when I bend it, and I would also vacuum seal it so it, you know, will stay longer. You can even add some oxygen absorber pack for long-term duration. So, but see, really easy, very simple, you know, nothing complicated. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope you find this video useful. If you do, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, you can give 2 thumbs down. That's, you know, that will mark your extreme dissatisfaction. And I have more content like this coming up. You can consider subscribing. You will see what's coming up next. Alright, thanks a lot folks. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.